Human evolution is a tricky puzzle that scientists have been trying to solve as long as evolution has been an idea. The timeline of our ancestors seems to constantly be shifting, changing, and, well, evolving as time goes on. We have to constantly change our understanding of history as we find new fossils, and our ability to analyze fossils improves with technology. The issue with studying the fossil record is you can only study what you have found. This massive, albeit obvious, caveat means we constantly have to change and update our understanding of history. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Lynx Rufus, some random guy on the internet. If you're not new here and you're wondering why the fighting game player is currently talking about human evolution, well, while I'm most well known online for being mediocre at playing Llewellyn and Granblue, I, in real life, am an aspiring anthropologist. I'm currently going to university trying to get into the field. So with that out of the way, welcome to Weedy, the series where I talk about something that made me go, wow, that's interesting. Today I'll be talking about Ancestor X. Now, who is Ancestor X? We don't fucking know. That's the entire damn point. Ancestor X is the theoretical last common human ancestor between Homo sapiens, Homo neanderthalis, and Homo denisovans. Now, if you have no clue what that means, Homo sapiens are us. That's right. I hate to break it to all of you out there, no matter what you think you are Homo. Homo neanderthalis, or the Neanderthals as most people know them, are close relatives that walked the earth at the same time. Now, what's lesser known is Homo denisovans, who are another species. If Neanderthals are our brothers, then Denisovans are our sisters. Now, to massively oversimplify it, Homo sapiens, our species, were in Africa. Neanderthalis are our brothers in Europe, and Denisovans were our sisters in Asia. Now, Ancestor X would be the parent of these three sibling species, but we don't know exactly who that is. Right now, there are four main ideas I want to go over. People that think it might be Homalongi, people that think it might be Homo Antcessor, and people that think it might be Homohylebergensis. With the fourth one being people who just don't think we have found it yet, because honestly, we haven't. It seems like it should be pretty easy to figure out who our parents are, but it's actually proving quite a big issue for scientists right now. Some additional context I want to throw in there is that it gets super messy when we're talking about defining species. There's pretty much two different camps of thought processes, which are the lumpers and the definers. Now, lumpers just have a couple really broad categories, while definers can get so extreme that everything is an individual little species. Everyone in the field falls somewhere on the spectrum, and it's really arbitrary. So for this, we're going to be looking more on the definer side, because if we just lump everything together, it's a lot less interesting to talk about. Now, in my experience, back when I took a basic archaeology course, my professor admitted she was a lumper. Meanwhile, when I did biological anthropology, the professor that actually told me about this, shout out Pete, he was fucking awesome, he admitted he was a definer. So it's really a broad scope of opinions. A quick disclaimer before I go any further onto this topic is I am not an expert on this shit. I am no Milo Rossi. Yes, I am a knockoff Milo Rossi. That's why I'm doing this. He inspired me. Go watch miniminuteman if you don't. It's a fucking fascinating channel. I am an anthropologist, and while all fields of anthropology overlap, this is paleoanthropology and archaeology. I study cultural and linguistic anthropology. This is way out of my field, but I got super interested, and so I went and I read as many articles and research papers as I could to make this video. So I encourage you to do your own research if you are interested. I will link in the description my note sheet that has the links to all of the different articles I read and the stuff I pulled from them. So do your own research. Don't just take my word, but I want to get people interested in this topic because I feel like not many people even know that this is currently a mystery going on. But it's so interesting, I promise you. Now, with all of that out of the way, a lot of context, I'm sorry about that, but I am now here to tell you that we evolved from a dragon man. No, unfortunately, we didn't evolve from Dragonborns, where this isn't D&D. But Dragon Man is the colloquial name for Homolongni. Now, it's actually more accepted than that actual species name, but that's beside the point. The interesting thing about this discovery, Dragon Man, is not necessarily the species itself, Homolongni. The skull of Dragon Man has a fascinating story. To sum it up real quick, it was discovered in 1933. But this Homolongni species is a recent 2018 discovery. So if the skull was found all the way back then, why did it take us so long to find it now? Well, that is because the person who found it was a Chinese man. In 1933, China was under occupation from Japan. So when this man discovered it, he recognized, oh, this is probably pretty valuable. I don't want to hand it over to the invaders. So instead of handing it over, he hid it at the bottom of a well, underground. And that is where it sat. Through communism and cultural revolutions, through World War and everything, 1,000 different events that have happened between the 30s and 2018, when finally, after the man's passing, the family dug up the skull and donated it for research. Now, Homalongi is very interesting. It has the brow ridge like a Neanderthal, but it has our delicate jawline like a Homo sapien, meaning it's kind of that middle point. That's what we're looking for in a common ancestor, something that looks like both of us. The issue arises when you look at time frame. To simplify numbers, and I mean severely simplify numbers, Ancestor X is probably about fucking 1 million years old. That's not an exaggeration. That's like actually approximately the number. Homalongi, it's only 150,000 years old. It's much more likely a sister than it is an ancestor, unfortunately. Now, that's not the only reason it's probably not Ancestor X. Some scientists actually believe that the defining of a new species, Homalongi, was way too quick to happen. A lot of them actually believe this could just be a Denisovans skull. It is from a 20-year-old. So the issue with morphology is you're going based off of how things look. And a 20-year-old, you know, that could grow up and look more like we understand of the Denisovans. And so it's really up in the air. It's such a new discovery that it's hard to really say what's going on with it. So while this could just be Denisovan, and the time frame does mean it's extremely unlikely that it's not the ancestor, it could have been alive for, you know, 1 million years walking this planet. That is a possibility, and we should not discount it because of that. It's just highly unlikely. So if Dragon Man is not the titular Ancestor X, then who is? Well, welcome Homo Antecessor. Antecessor, I need to check I'm saying that right, because it's so close to Ancestor, I keep fucking it up every time I try to record this. Hold on. Homo Antecessor. Now, what makes this little skull so interesting is it is the oldest example of a modern human face. It has our delicate cheeks and flat face. None of that massive brow ridge and the bulbous head of a Neanderthal. This looks like a person, but it still has the giant chompers that the old species have, so it is a middle step, which is what we need in Ancestor X. But if we learned one thing from me talking about Dragon Man, it's that I like yanking your chain. I like lying to you. So, I'm sure some of you are wondering, how old is this thing? 800,000 years old. The perfect sweet spot. Almost exactly what we are looking for in Ancestor X. It looks like an early version of us. It existed a long time ago. This is our Ancestor X. We finally did it. But, of course, it's too good to be true. It is a highly debated one. Similar to Dragon Man, the skulls we are studying of Homo Antecessor are their children, younger specimen, so it's argued whether or not this is even a new species. Again, lumpers, definers, it gets so messy. Some people argue this is just Homo erectus, which would not be our parent species, but our grandparent species. Homo erectus was 1.5 million years ago. They're old as shit. They are not the last common human ancestor. What we're looking for is the middle step between erectus and sapien. The other issue arising with it is that it's too human. A lot of scientists are arguing that Homo Antecessor is probably an extremely close relative to Ancestor X. It is the sapien offshoot. It's not the middle point of Neanderthal, sapien, and Denisovans. It is our branch of it. So we're so close with it, but a lot of people will say that's not it. So, brings us to our last guy. Homalongi and Homalongi and Homo Antecessor are both new discoveries that are argued to maybe just be a pre-existing species. But this next one is not that. If you've studied human evolution at all, you have heard of this. I heard of it from my classes. The other two I found on my own research while doing this topic. I had heard about this species in class. You know them, you love them, maybe, I don't fucking know. Homohylebergensis. Now this, right here, is one of the most well understood of the ancient species. It is a keystone in our evolution. For a long time, it was honestly considered Ancestor X, but things have changed. While it is a step in our human evolution, more recent studies are revealing that it leans more on the side of Neanderthal. Heidelbergensis is starting to be considered more of a proto-Neanderthal than a parent species of Homo sapien. The other issue with it is that looking at the time frame, it's just a bit too young. We're looking at 300,000 to 500,000 years old, and again, we're looking for something closer to 1 million years old with Ancestor X. Heidelbergensis walked this earth at the same time as sapiens Neanderthals. That is not impossible at all for Ancestor X to have done, but it's not something you like to see when you're looking for the parent species. See, the issue with looking at time is that it has constantly been changing. Wow, time changes. You know what I mean. The issue with looking at time frame is that our predictions constantly change. Going off of DNA, we thought 400,000 years ago. Then we did an analysis of teeth, we thought 700,000 years ago. No, 700,000 years wasn't teeth. 800,000 years was teeth, my apologies. 700,000 years was the virtual model of a skull we made by mapping average data points. Fascinating thing, read about it, it's one of the articles. Cambridge made like a theoretical Ancestor X skull by averaging data points. Super interesting shit, I don't have time to go into it here. Models of the human timeline put Ancestor X more at 1 million years ago. The range that our ancestor, Ancestor X, would have existed in is so broad, we cannot know. Which leads me into the last fourth view. We haven't found Ancestor X yet. Now, I know it seems like I just spent however long this video has been disproving 3 species as Ancestor X, but in reality, I don't believe they're disproven. I think it is completely valid to believe that one of those is Ancestor X, as long as your conclusion is coming from informed research and science. I believe it is valid to think one of them is. Every discovery is going to have evidence and counter-evidence to it, and we can never be 100% certain. It is fair to believe that one of these 3 is Ancestor X, and there are a lot of scientists that do. But there are some that believe we still haven't found it. So what are we looking for, and how do we know? Well, obviously, we're looking for something that looks like us. It has to have primitive versions of what would evolve into defining traits. The delicate jawline of sapiens, the brow ridge of Neanderthals, they're like places for the ears. There's a bunch of different things, minor things in the skull. I don't do paleoanthropology, so I don't really know. Another obvious one is DNA. That is a surefire way to link ancestors to one another. I don't understand the specifics of it, but if DNA matches, DNA matches. We all know that. Time frame, as I had already mentioned, is iffy, so it carries less weight, but is something to consider. Location is another iffy one, but it's long been accepted that sapiens most likely evolved in Africa. We would want to find our ancestor, Ancestor X, in Africa. Yes, it could exist in other places, but if we don't find it at all in Africa, that's kind of a strike against it. The ideal world is we have a middle point looking species from Africa about 1 million years ago. And we just haven't found that yet. So many people say we have found things close enough to call it, but other people hold out. Again, it's this whole defining thing. Do you even consider some of these their own species? It's such a complicated and convoluted topic because the study of history just is that way. It's ever-changing. That's how science works. You can never be certain. Everything in life is a theory, and all we can do is refine our understanding. Human evolution is so unbelievably complex. I could make thousands of hours of videos talking about it, but I really just wanted to focus on this one thing because it's something not a lot of people know about or even think about, but it feels so, to me, important and fascinating. We have this void, this crucial link in a chain of our ancestry that we just don't know yet. And I think that's fascinating. So whether you believe we have yet to find them, or it's a Heidelbergensis, or maybe, you know, you met a guy one time and he was the ancestor. I mean, he looked old. Like, there's so many different theories and possibilities out there, and it's so fascinating to read all of them. And I encourage you to do your own research. Again, I am not an expert on this. I have linked all of the articles I read in a document in the description, but I could only read so many. I wanted to make sure I got this video out eventually, so I didn't read everything there is out there. Please, if you are interested, research this, because I personally find it extremely interesting. But I digress. I get really passionate about this kind of thing, and I just want other people to engage with it the way I do. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this has inspired you, taught you something new, but most of all, I hope it got you to think, wow, that's interesting.